Kevin Villines, Villines. Go ahead, Couple.
Thank you. Now, I understand that you're currently retired, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Where were you working prior to your retirement?
Camas Washougal Fire Department.
And when did you retire?
November 5th
Of
this year.
so-
2025.
2025, okay. And how long were you at the Camas Washougal Fire Department?
I was hired in January of 2001.
And what was your position at the Camas Washougal Fire Department prior to your retirement?
Battalion chief.
And were you a paramedic or EMT?
Yes.
Which?
Both, actually.
Okay.
When I got promoted, I kept my paramedic for a while. And then we decided as a department that battalion chiefs didn't need to keep that. And I dropped down to an EMT IV tech.
And so how long were you a paramedic?
Since 1998.
Do you know someone by the name of Kevin West?
Yes.
And how is it, prior to January 8th of 2024, how would you have described your relationship with Kevin?
Both personal, very close. We hunted a lot together. Spent as much time as we could. Then professional at work. At that point, he was also a battalion chief. So sometimes our shifts would cross, see him in the morning, talk to him. Or he would relieve me in the morning. And
How close were the two of you?
very, very, very close.
In fact, they called you Big Kevin, Little Kevin.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure why.
And the two of you were pretty close with Scott Slocum as well?
Yeah, we were the three amigos.
Okay. Would you say that you and Scott Slocum were the closest people to Kevin in the department?
I believe so, yes.
Did you regularly take trips together?
Yeah, every September. We archery hunted together when we could get tags. Even when we couldn't get tags for Idaho where we hunted, we still went over there to spend time with our good friends and us three.
Okay, so it was like sort of an annual trip?
Yeah. Going clear back to 2002, I believe, was our first hunting trip. Not to Idaho, but to Indian Heaven here. It was shorter trips when we first started. And then grew up to 2 weeks in Idaho.
Every year?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever meet Marcy West?
Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with Marcy?
I didn't know her before they were married, obviously. I would see her in the emergency room. I would see her if I went over to their house. We took a vacation together in October of 2021 to Roatan, Honduras, where we spent, I believe it was 10 days. Our total trip was 10 days.
Okay.
Shared a room.
And when you would see her at the hospital, would you chat with her? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Now, you just mentioned a trip that you took. What did you observe about Kevin and Marcy's relationship during that trip to Honduras?
I would describe it as distant. You know, they're together, but not like what I would presume a normal couple would be like in the Caribbean.
Okay. Prior to Marcy's passing, what would Kevin tell you about their relationship?
It didn't seem to be a very good one. There was basically complaints about financial, about who did the cooking, the cleaning in the house. I would not describe it as a healthy relationship.
Okay. Did he ever talk to you about divorcing Marcy?
Yes.
How often?
I can't put a solid number on that. There was always talks of it. the time I can really remember where I thought it was serious, was about September of 2023, I believe, our last trip to Idaho together.
Okay. And what did he, was this one of the hunting trips?
Yeah, well, we didn't have tags, so
Okay.
we claimed it was hunting.
Okay. What did he tell you about wanting to leave Marcy during that trip?
Basically that he had found a website where he could get all the paperwork done, and that he had gotten a lawyer and was going to go through with the divorce October, November of that year.
Okay. Did he express any reasons during the course of your relationship where he felt like he couldn't divorce Marcy, or why he couldn't divorce Marcy?
I think his biggest concern, as well as any police or fireman, is when you get near the end of your career.
Objection, non-responsive. The question is, what did he say about it?
All right, well, I'll sustain the objection, we'll repeat the question, listen to that question, and answer.
Okay. Did he express any reasons why he was reluctant to divorce Marcy?
Yes,
And what was that?
financial.
Can you explain further?
Yeah. Every fireman and cop puts in a lot of years.
Objection, non-responsive. No foundation.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. It's like your worst nightmare. You've built a pension for 20 years, and then say your wife comes up to you and says she wants a divorce, right? By that time, you're ready to get out of the field. And now you're
Objection,
worried
Your Honor.
about
This-
getting rid of
this is
50% of your
not-
stuff.
I'm sorry, I'll sustain the objection. The question is what he said about it, not your opinion or other firefighters' opinion. So
Okay.
if he made the statements that you're relating, then it's responsive to the question. If he didn't make those statements, it isn't. Repeat the question, listen to it, and answer it.
What reluctance did Kevin West convey to you about divorcing Marcy?
Financial, losing half of his stuff and half of his pension.
And during that hunting trip in September of 2023, did you observe any behavior that led you to believe that Kevin was having an affair?
Yes, and I confronted him about it. When we go there, we hang out with our friends that we've made there. A lot of times it's in Hubert Miller's shop, is where we stay on Hubert Miller's ranch. And we're all together laughing, joking, having a good time. This trip, Kevin West was on his cell phone like nonstop. And it was more than just a few phone calls. There was a lot of time spent on it. So finally, both Scott and I noticed, what this was about. So I confronted him and I said, "What's her name?" And he reluctantly, kind of quietly, told me that he had gotten back together with Cynthia.
Okay. Now, you previously testified that there was a plan, that he conveyed a plan to you to divorce Marcy in October, November of 2023. Did that plan change?
Yeah, I was told later by him that he had changed his mind and he wanted to get past the holidays, thinking about like it's going to be traumatic on kids and everything else.
Okay. Did he say when he was going to tell Marcy that he wanted the divorce?
I don't know that.
Okay. On January 8th of 2024, were you working that morning?
No.
And did you learn of Marcy's passing?
Yeah, our department's pretty close, and I got a call. I believe it was from Chris Castle. Told me what had happened, and then just kind of pure shock. knew I needed to get down there. So I hopped in my truck and drove from La Center down to Washougal.
And when you say get down there, is that to the West residence?
Correct.
Okay. And approximately what time did you arrive at the West residence?
Sometime around 8 in the morning, 0800-ish.
And who was there when you arrived?
I remember Michael Brown being there. I remember Scott Slocum was also there. Mark Woodland was there. There was Washougal PD officers there. I don't remember anyone else so much.
Okay. And were you there in a professional or personal capacity?
Personal.
Did you speak to Kevin that morning?
Yes.
And where was that?
We were inside the residence, downstairs in the kitchen area, the West residence.
And was there a point at which the two of you were alone?
Yeah.
And what did he say to you with regard to Marcy's passing?
He said, I feel bad for not feeling bad.
And what was his demeanor like when he said that?
I would say without emotion.
Okay. And was this shortly after your arrival on January 8th?
Yeah, I hadn't been there very long.
So sometime around 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
And after January 8th, did you maintain contact with him for a while?
Yes.
And did he ever express any sadness over Marcy's death or that he missed her during that time?
No.
What sorts of things was he telling you?
He told me that he was having a hard time sleeping, he couldn't eat, that he'd gone to a doctor and got a prescription for something so he could sleep at night.
Was he generally expressing more of an anxiety emotion?
Objection, leading question,
Overruled.
and relevance calls for characterization of the evidence, Your Honor.
Overruled.
You can answer the
No,
question.
thank you. Could you repeat it again? Sorry.
Was he generally expressing more of an anxiety than a sadness?
I believe that to be true, yes.
And this was all prior to his having been charged with Marcy's death, correct?
Correct.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Morning, Mr. Villines.
Morning.
Now, you'd known Kevin for what, about 22 years at the time?
Since he got hired at Washougal, back then it was Camas Fire Department.
You guys were very close,
Yep.
confidants.
Buddies, yes.
You could share things with him that you wouldn't share with other people.
If I wanted, yes.
Now, when you said that Kevin mentioned that he had gotten back together with or reunited with Cynthia, that's something that was from like 20 years earlier, isn't that correct?
I'm familiar, or I know that they had an affair many, many years ago. I don't know about from then until now.
So you don't know when it started? And that's a yes or no
Any-
question. You don't know when it started, do you?
An exact date?
Yes.
No.
And you say that Kevin made a statement to you, something like, I feel bad for not feeling bad. And you say he didn't have any emotion.
Those were his exact words.
Okay. And he didn't have any emotion. That was my question.
Yes.
Just kind of blank.
Correct.
You say you got there about 8 o'clock.
To his residence?
Yes.
Yes.
You said that he mentioned to you that he got a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember talking to me on the phone a while back? This would have been on April 23rd, 2025. Remember talking to me?
Yes.
You were telling me that he had not talked to you about getting a lawyer for the divorce.
Objection, this is beyond the scope and hearsay.
I told you he had not, or I was unaware.
Do you remember telling me that that you couldn't remember that he told you about getting a lawyer for the divorce?
No, I do not remember saying that to you. I don't even remember the question from you on that date.
Brad, what page?
Give me a second here. This would be on page 17. Now, you say that Kevin was just kind of blank, didn't have any emotions, right?
Correct.
Okay. You've been around a lot of people when a loved one passes in front of them, right? Everybody, is that yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody mourns in different ways, don't they?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you page 17 of the transcript of our conversation. Just ask you to read from line 12 down to line 18. And just read it to yourself and then let me know when you're done.
Okay.
Have you read it?
Yeah.
Does that remind you what you told me that day?
I'll believe you if it's written down and
Sorry,
everyone.
that's not the response. If you review a document and it refreshes your recollection so that you now remember something you didn't remember forward, you could testify as to your refreshed recollection. If after reading the document you still don't remember it, then that's the answer.
Okay, I don't remember that conversation.
You don't remember talking to me?
Not in April, no. I remember talking to you. I don't remember the specifics of every single thing that's on there. Sorry.
So you don't remember me asking you, did he ever mention going to see a lawyer, and then you saying,
Objection.
and then you saying not that I...
Objection.
I'm sorry, what's the objection?
Hearsay. He's already asked the witness
It's
what's it. He's
permissible
trying
to impeach a witness with a prior inconsistent statement. The objection is overruled.
So you don't remember during that conversation that I was recording me saying, did he ever mention going to see a lawyer? And you don't recall saying, no, not that I can remember for a divorce. You remember saying that?
I do not remember saying that, no.
And when you said that Kevin was telling you that he couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep, and he needed to get some medication to sleep, that was after the police were questioning him and kind of accusing him of this offense, isn't that correct?
Not sure. I don't know, because I don't know the exact date that that PD started talking to him a lot.
All right, thank you. No more questions.
Redirect.
How soon after Marcy's death was he describing these anxiety symptoms to you?
I can't say an exact, I would be guessing. I don't,
Was it within the first week, or do you know?
I could put it within the first month, but anything more specific, I would be guessing.
Okay. Did Kevin ever talk to you about whether he and Marcy slept in the same bed?
Objection outside the scope of cross.
It is, but rather than have the witness step down and come back up, I'll allow the question.
I can't specifically think of a time. I mean, I've heard that, but I can't specifically say.
I sustain the objection, disregard the non-responsive portion of the response. Next question.
Did Kevin ever talk to you about his future plans with Cynthia?
Some of them, yes.
What sorts of things did he tell you?
He seemed very excited to be with her, that she was fun, and he wanted to take her to Roatan with us on the next trip that we went on.
Did he have any complaints about Marcy drinking or not drinking?
There was a time when he told me, after complaining, that
I'm gonna object as to relevance, Your Honor.
Sorry, what period of time are we talking about?
Prior to her death?
20 years prior to her death? 5 years prior to her death?
Within the year prior to her death, did he express any complaints about Marcy not drinking?
I can think of one, but I can't give you a time frame on it. I've known him for a long time. I've heard of a lot of complaints about marriage. I can't put a date on
Answered
it.
the question. Next question.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Further recross?
No recross, Your Honor.
Can the witness be excused?
Yes.
Yes.